weird how I always end up on my back?
Well, hello there. You might not know this, but it's officially Spooky Month, and Spooky Month is one of my favorite months. Something about it gives me a warm feeling that others might have during Christmas. I don't know if it's the nostalgia or the aesthetic or the fact that my birthday is on October, but I can say that Spooky Month is the home of most goth mommies. If you're a man of culture like me, the goth aesthetic is something that cannot be matched, and I feel like it's time to talk about the icons that paved the way, and that's what I'm going to be talking about. What's up, everyone? It's your Bonnie, and I'm going to be talking about the original 4 goth queens of history. Also, this is the first ever G Spooky Month. This is where all month long of October, all my videos are going to be Halloween related or in the realm of being spooky. That goes well for my other 2 channels, Bonnie's Collection and the GD1 channel. As well, go subscribe to them if you haven't. That's enough explaining. So sit back, pop in your copy of Child's Play. It's time to talk about goth mommies.
Grab a nice cold refreshing Coke.
I don't know why, but it seems back in the day, the idea of spooks in Halloween was huge. So many Halloween themed shows, movies, and comics. It's honestly something we don't get to see much of today. We usually get the occasional goth character. We'll never get any type of show like how it was back in the day. And yeah, there is a bunch of Halloween type movies, but they're mainly horror slasher type movies. I'm talking about something like the Addams family. And who else to start off in this video than Mistress Addams. Mistress is one of the most recognizable goth mommies than the rest of them. With the Addams family having so much content, starting out the New York comic strip created by Charles Addams, the original comic ran from 1938 to 1964, and right after that immediately got a TV show from 64 to 77, and that's when Mistress got a live-action portrayal of her, played by Caroline Jones, who played the character while giving off the calm yet scary queen. Was one of the better performances of the character. And after that, in the early 90s, we got 3 live-action movies where Mistress was played by Angela Houston, who played her even a little bit better, even receiving multiple Saturn Awards for her portrayal as Mistress, and rightfully so. The Addams Family movies were a cult classic in the 90s pop culture scene. If you bring up these movies, I promise you a lot of people have watched or have heard of this movie, even probably having them in the movies they have to watch. But if you think that's it, the Addams Family was even putting cartoons, getting their own TV show, but only getting 1 season. But it was enough to have a crossover with Scooby-Doo and many others, like in the 60s Batman. Not only cartoons, they had a ton of video games and a musical. Even to this day, the Addams Family has movies, even though not a lot of people like them, but the designs wise, it's based off the original comic strips, and even the Netflix show focuses on Wednesday Addams, the daughter of Mistress and Gomez. So it's safe to say that Mistress Addams is one of the 4 horsewomen of the goth mommies. The next goth mommy is one who dominated the comic book scene, even having comics out to this day, and I'm talking about Vampirella. Vampirella is a vampire superhero created by Forrest J. Ackerman and Trina Robinson in 1969 for Warren Publishing, a black and white horror magazine, having about 112 issues for its original run. Being a vampire, she does have superpowers such as superhuman strength, healing, and immune to poisons, and typical vampire abilities. So if you watch any Twilight stuff, or if you know about vampire abilities, she pretty much has all that locked down. But it depends on what era. You see, in the Warren era, Vampirella was a being from another planet instead of being a vampire, but she still is immortal. Then after Warren Publishing went under, Vampirella got picked up by Harrison Publishing, continuing the original run from 1991 to 2007, having a bunch of issues, mini issues, and one-shots. And since being a comic book character, Vampirella had a bunch of crossovers, big names such as The Spirit, Shadowhawk, Savage Dragon, and even Catwoman, just to name a few. But sadly, after this run, Harrison Publishing lost the rights to Vampirella, but you can't kill this vampire so easily. And in 2010, Dynamite Comics got the rights for Vampirella and been making comics for her to this day. Since by the time they did Vampirella, been out for 40 years. They did what all comic book companies do. They hit her with a fat reboot. Starting off with Vampirella #1, this is where we see more issues every month, even having some more crossovers like Red Sonja. Hell, I even own a few of these comics right here. Other than comics, Vampirella got her own movie titled Vampirella, released in 1996. In the movie, it kind of follows both Warren and Harrison versions of Vampirella, having her being from another planet, but having majority of her powers. She was played by Tasia Soto, but crazy thing was that this movie has some crazy development issue. Originally, it was going to be released in 1976. There was going to be a sequel planned, but never happened. But in 2021, Dynamite announced a new movie in the world and plans for multiple TV shows based on the Vampirella universe. Honestly, with an IP like Vampirella and the right people, we can have a big universe with so many TV shows and movies. Now, something like how The Evil Dead has Ash Williams, I never really seen people talk too much about Vampirella like others, probably because of lack of media aside from the comics. Maybe after the release of the movie, more people will talk about Vampirella the Goth Queen. All this talks about Goth Mommies is making me thirsty. I'll talk more about Goth Mommies after this. With every genre of media, there's always going to be two or more things that are similar but are not the same. With Star Wars, there was Star Trek. With Coca-Cola, there was Pepsi. And for the Addams Family, there was the Monsters, an American sitcom depicting a family of monsters. It was released by CBS in 1964, getting 2 seasons with 70 episodes. It's safe to say that the Monsters was popular. And if you put the Monsters next to the Addams Family, you can see the similarities. But when it comes to the Addams Family, they're a family of zombie-like people who loves pain and creepy things. But for the Monsters, they are recognizable movie monsters. You have Herman Frankenstein's monster marrying Dracula's daughter, Lily Monster, a high contender for Vampire Queen, I do say so myself. Lily was played by Joanna De Carlo, and she played her for the entire original run, even playing her for the 2 movies they had. The Monsters were really popular, even getting a cartoon. Although they never did a crossover with Scooby-Doo or even the Addams Family, I guess since CBS owns the rights to the Monsters and Paramount owns the rights to the Addams Family, we won't be able to see them coexist, which is a shame because who doesn't want to see these 2 families interact with each other? Having Wednesday and Pugsley be friends with Eddie Monster, Gomez being fascinated with the Monsters, and having Morticia and Lily just be in the same scene together, just, man, like, I really want to see a Monsters and Addams Family crossover movie, like with the right people too. Like, this is something I would love to see. I would drop top dollar to see that happen. But it also seems like the Monsters even had comics, but boy, they are pricey, about $100 for each original print. Other than that, Rob Zombie is directing a Monsters movie coming out on Netflix September 27th. So by the time this video is out, the movie will already be a week old. So it's safe to say that these lovable monsters won't be forgetting anytime soon. Honestly, talking about this video is making me think that there were so many Goth Mommies, from vampires to the undead. But if we will talk about the most recognizable, we have to talk about Elvira, Mistress of the Dark, the girl with the huge ratings. That's what I was gonna say. What's there not to say about Elvira? Even if you don't know about the horror scene, you know about her. She was such a huge name in the community, having her likeness in so many shows and other movies. The thing that stands her apart from the others is that she became a symbol. How did the Mistress become so big? I mean, well known. Well, in 1981, after the death of Fright Night's host Larry Vincent, the producers replaced him with a new host, Cassandra Peterson. She played Elvira for most of the character's existence, taking inspiration from Morticia, but went through a cease and desist from Warren Comics for that reason alone. But that didn't stop Elvira, and in 1985, she began to host a home video series called Thriller Video, where she would do bumpers and give small details about slasher movies and horror movies alone, and anything under that category. It quickly grew into popularity, getting so much merchandise, magazines, costumes, eyelashes, CDs, and this sick guitar that I would love to buy one of these days. But over time, and just like any major icon in the 80s, she got her own movie. Her first movie, titled Elvira, Mistress of the Dark, released in 1988. The movie follows Elvira quitting her job after the station's new owner sexually harasses her. Yeah, it was the 80s. Crazy time. But anyway, she sets off to open an act in Las Vegas, but needs $50,000 for the project, but finds out her great aunt has died, so now she has to travel to Massachusetts to claim her inheritance. But that's not the only movie she had made, because 13 years later, Elvira will return to the big screen in her second movie titled Elvira's Haunted Hills. In this movie, Elvira goes to Paris. Who's in Paris? Elvira is. No, for a can review, but stays with Dr. Bradley at his castle in a small village, but the villagers discover that she looks just like the king's dead wife. But if you think that's all, Elvira even had a major comic book run, rivaling Vampirella, getting published by a bunch of comic book companies. Even DC had their own comics with Elvira, but then Claypool was the main publisher that released her comics. Even Cassandra herself wrote some comics. She was so involved in the character, it's really impressive. But nowadays, Dynamite owns the comic book publishing to this character, even for new runs. Honestly, out of these 4 Goth mommies, Elvira will always be the most known, and that's because of the marketing Cassandra did. Even having big name shows like The Simpsons or Grim Adventures of Billy and Mandy do small parodies of her character. Before I even knew who Elvira was, I had some sort of idea about her, but that's not to say that others are not any less than her. Each of them paved the way for the future generation of Goths, and even new Goth icons we see today. Anytime someone brings up the best Goth girl, I'll probably bring up these 4. But that's gonna be it. And also, welcome to the first year of Spooky Month in this channel. I hope you liked this video and liked what I was talking about. If you did, please leave a like and comment who's your favorite out of these 4. And don't forget to hit the subscribe button, and also check out Gullapy for the Halloween drop if you want some Goth babes on you for this month. Until the next one, peace.
Hiya. The Addams family.